If you ever set a goal for yourself, but either got stuck on your way to achieving it or burned yourself out in the process, you need to listen to this episode. I will tell you about a completely distinct way of reaching your goals effectively, sustainably, and without sacrificing your joy, peace, and balance. I am loving this concept. It's completely changed my life, and I know it will change yours too. So let me tell you all about it. Welcome to the Empowered Expat Woman Show, the place to celebrate your courage, inspire you to dream and play bigger, and support you in creating a truly fulfilled life across borders. I'm your host, Camilla Quintana, and I believe your future is too important to get lost in translation. So, are you ready to make the most of your life abroad? Then let's get started. Hey, my lovely Empowered Expat Women. Today, I have a really powerful episode prepared for you, and it's about a concept I call inspired action. So if you've been following me for some time, you'll have heard me say that many times, and maybe you wondered, why inspired action? How is that different from just normal action? So in this episode, I'll explain what inspired action is, what it looks like, because the way I think of it, it's actually this beautiful cycle. Then why it's so powerful for you to implement the 4 phases of the cycle that I'll tell you about in a minute, and much more. One thing I can guarantee is that once you start taking inspired action, you will be on a road to sustainable success and well-being. So, I believe in the power of ambition and accomplishments and of pushing ourselves outside our comfort zone to go after our most meaning-providing and motivating goals. And yet, I know that so many times we fear that doing that will just get too much. It'll be too much work, too much time away from our families, from our other responsibilities. We're scared to burn ourselves out because, let's face it, we've seen it happen. We've seen it happen to others, and we've probably even been on that verge ourselves. I know I have. There have been many times where I felt like almost watching myself from the outside, like bird's view, and feeling like I am so close to burning out. I just need to push through whatever thing I was doing and hope to get out on the other side before my strength runs out. And that's a scary place to be in. That's not what it should be like. So what I want to show and teach you today is the opposite of that. It's the response and the alternative. So like the antidote to the hustle culture we sometimes witness today, that is just about action, action, action at the cost of burning yourself out or of losing the joy in the process. Which, by the way, for me is the #1 indicator that I've been simply pushing myself too hard. It's when I lose the joy in something that I actually enjoy doing. That's when I know, okay, it's been too much. Now, the cycle of inspired action is innately sustainable, and it includes elements of action as well as of nourishment, like a yin and a yang, right? Like it should be. So before I go in there, let's quickly talk about why it is so important to take action. Listen, anyone can dream about what they want their lives to look like, what they would like to achieve in theory, what impact they would love to make, or what's even worse, everyone can complain about the life they have, about everything that hasn't worked out, about everyone that's been holding you back or that's still putting you down. And let's be honest, neither the dreaming of what could be nor the complaining about what simply isn't is going to change anything about your status quo, right? You would be like the world's best kept secret, the world's best kept secret entrepreneur, change maker, or party host, or advisor, author, artist, you name it. And I don't want you or your gifts, your vision, your purpose to be a secret. I want it to be a reality. And so many people get stuck on the way of making this a reality by not taking action, by procrastinating, by doing busy work, where you're always doing something You're always active and busy, but you're not actually accomplishing the really important and meaningful things in your life. Then there are people who are so stuck in their heads that they just feel paralyzed to move. They may be too perfectionist. They may overcomplicate things. They may not be able to deal with imposter syndrome or with their inner critic. And by the way, I recorded a really special episode about that, which I recommend you listen to. It's all about, handling your inner critic and your inner voices that hold you back. So I'll link that in the show notes. Then also there are people that can perfectly explain all the reasons why they can't do something before they've even tried, before they even started or gave it a chance. Let me tell you, and I know this is a little counterintuitive, but you don't actually need to be ready to take action. Actually, you become ready as you take action. You grow more and more skilled and experienced and confident by taking action. And the only way that you'll reap the fruits of whatever it is that you aspire to is when you take action and you see it through. And ideally, that's inspired action. So inspired action is when you are deeply connected to yourself, fully aligned with your purpose, your vision, and then taken the most effective steps to meet your goal. In the previous episodes, we talked about the importance of tying your goals to a bigger purpose in life, to your long-term vision, and about setting yourself up for success as you go after them and accomplish them. So when you now focus on taking inspired action in all areas of your life, you will feel intrinsically motivated. You won't need to push yourself so hard to do something. It will come natural. You will feel joyful throughout the process because engaging in meaningful activities and pursuing really purposeful goals is so deeply gratifying. And then last but not least, you will feel really fulfilled and satisfying once you achieve what you had set your mind to. And that feeling is priceless. It's the best. So now take a moment to think about something special that you would really love to achieve in your expat life. Something that would give you such a deep sense of meaning, significance, gratitude. Often it's something that you're a little scared or even a little bit ashamed to say out loud. But if you achieved it, you'd be so proud. And it would also benefit others around you, right? What's that thing that you would just love people to associate with your name? So you can close your eyes for this if you want and just visualize this for a moment. See yourself as you've already gotten there. See the look on your face, the way you move, the way you talk. Pay attention to how your life has changed in this vision. What are you able to do now that you weren't before? And how do you feel about yourself now that you didn't before? And what does that do with you? Also, how do you engage with your loved ones, with your partner, with your children, family, friends, colleagues, now that you've made it? You've accomplished this goal that means so much to you. I hope this visualization makes you realize that it's really not just about a goal. It's about the ripple effect that reaching this goal will have on you, on your life, and on the people around you, on the world, if you will, because they say, right, that even a little butterfly can create changes in the atmosphere by flapping its wings, and those can ultimately lead to the formation of a hurricane somewhere in the world. Remember the butterfly effect? So if this is true, just imagine what ripple effect you and your actions can cause in this world. Wow, it's incredible, right? So I hope that by now you are ready to get up, to jump up and take that action. And here is the model that will help you do that in the most effective way and without burning yourself out. It is the cycle of inspired action. It may come as a surprise to you that inspired action can actually take on different and unexpected forms that are all an essential part of this cycle. So first of all, let's quickly distinguish between constant activity an actual effectiveness, because they're definitely not the same, right? Nor does it mean that a seemingly unpredictable time in your life equals being ineffective. It's not necessarily the equation, right? So there are actually 4 different phases that make up inspired action, the way I look at it, the way I teach it. First comes the impulse. That's that spark, that idea, that vision, or that momentum that makes you want to do something. And the excitement you feel about it releases dopamine in your brain, and that will make you want to take action on it, right? So therefore, the second phase you move into is action, activity, motion. Things, action steps to bring your idea or your vision to life. Then once you've done that, and in order to be truly effective, you'll enter a third phase, which is the correction phase. Here, you'll slow down a little bit, you'll evaluate your results, you analyze your actions, and you redefine your goal even more precisely and more clearly, because our goals are alive. They're constantly growing, such as we are, such as our purpose is, such as our opportunities are. And I know that the correction phase, it may not sound so sexy, but it does really go a long way, and it will make you truly masterful in whatever you're trying to achieve here and whichever skills you're trying to apply, right? And then the last phase that is equally important as the others is the strategic pause. And don't be fooled. Our brain is always working, even when we're resting and when we're sleeping. This is actually the time that our brain can process and store things in our memory and anchor what we've learned. So taking breaks and replenishing is actually a vital part of action. And it's the best thing about it, by the way, for those of you who love to be in action like I do, is that it's often in those pauses that new ideas are born. So I can tell you about the amount of times I had a really good idea during my yoga practice. I do a lot of yin yoga, which is a slower form where you surrender more into the poses for 3 minutes or so. And it's just a great time to get new impulses while I replenish. Or maybe you're someone who likes to take a walk, or you do sports. You know, in those times, you're not actively thinking and overthinking something. You're not trying to come up with a solution to something. You just have it in the back of your mind, but then you let go as you do something restorative for yourself. And often these seemingly unproductive times can really make a huge difference and make you so much more impactful. So these were the 4 phases of inspired action: impulse, motion, or action, correction, and pause. And what I find really cool about this is that if you remember an episode I did with the amazing Kayla Osterhoff about leveraging our feminine nature and the power of our menstrual cycle, you'll see that this model actually plays into that perfectly. And it allows us to go with the flow of our cycle rather than against it, which is precisely the reason why so many women struggle with this hustle culture that I referred to earlier, which is about constant action, 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 because this is indeed against our cyclical nature. So as a reminder, and for those of you who feel drawn to live more in agreement with your feminine flow, our cycle also has 4 phases. During the follicular phase, which is between menstruation and ovulation, our serotonin and endorphin levels are on the rise. And that will boost your mood and your motivation. It gives you enhanced cognitive performance, and it's a really great time for action. Then ovulation brings a peak in estrogen and also in other neurochemicals. And it's very likely that you'll feel at your best during this relatively short window of time. It's a great time for socializing, networking, pitching, and presenting. So it's, let's call it peak action, maybe. Then in the luteal phase, progesterone, which is the pregnancy hormone, is really high, but so is GABA, which is in charge of calming our central nervous system down and improving our focus and our memory. And this is a great time to analyze, learn, adapt as required in the correction phase. And then finally, during menstruation, our metabolism slows down. We have enhanced empathy and enhanced intuition. So it's a great time to pause and turn inward to self-care and to make room for our next impulse and our next cycle of inspired action. So if this speaks to you, you can try adapting your inspired action cycle to your menstrual cycle. And if it doesn't speak to you, just take it as a fun fact. So now, since inspired action is really a cycle, it's important to keep that wheel turning. Because what I often see is that people get stuck in one phase. Let me tell you how that looks like, why that is, and if it happens to you, how you can get out of that. So for instance, when you pause for too long, you will lose momentum. And this will make it harder for you to take action. And when you're not taking action, it's almost like an invitation for overthinking, overcomplicating, worrying, self-doubt. Have you experienced that? So if you are at risk of doing this, your mantra should really be something like action over perfection, or I don't need to be ready to start acting on my goals, which you really don't. On the other hand, if you keep looking for impulses, for new ideas, and you're daydreaming of everything you'd like to do, you can easily fall into overwhelm and just stay stuck there. And what's more, and you'll be surprised to hear that, your brain can literally become used and even addicted to those dopamine kicks it experiences every time you have a new idea and a new impulse. I could do this, I could do that. Because an idea is something really exciting. It's much more exciting than rolling up your sleeves and doing the work, right? But if you stay stuck just chasing impulse after impulse, it will be deeply unsatisfying. You really need to get into action and take steps to release that creative tension and feel a sense of meaning and accomplishment, which is so crucial for your well-being. Then again, remaining in work mode for too long can reduce the quality of your work and of your impulses. It could lead to chronic stress and burnout. We really need to alternate our sprints of hard work with times of rest and of slower, deeper work and so forth. And then finally, staying in the correction mode, or it could even be preparation mode for too long, can look like perfectionism, analysis paralysis, or over-educating yourself in theory. And this can just reinforce that feeling of not being ready, when readiness, as we established, is actually the result of practice and of action. So these were the insights of the cycle of inspired action. You've learned about the 4 phases and why they're important, what happens in each. I told you about how you could turn this into this deliciously feminine, successful lifestyle by tying it to your menstrual cycle. And I showed you what it means when you get stuck in one of the phases and how to get out of there, how to bring the wheel back into rolling. Now, if you have a goal that you're excited to pursue and accomplish, helping you get there is my specialty. So do take advantage of the complimentary clarity session that's available to all viewers and listeners, which you can book at www.camillaquintana.com/call. I look forward to see you next week. I hope this was super helpful to you. I hope you can implement it in your life right away. And until next week, I hope you take care, stay safe, and stay in inspired action.